Hello, and welcome to the Thoughtful Realtor Podcast. This is a podcast where we sit down for insights, stories, and conversations about all things real estate, running a real estate team in California, and how we find our way as leaders and business partners. I'm Connie Chung, one of the founders and partners of Willowmar Real Estate, and mama to two kiddos, Mia, who's 6 years old, and Mateo, who's 3. And for this episode, we have two seasoned mama agents from Willowmar, Vanessa Gamp and Tiffany Chung, joining us. And I'm so excited to be in conversation with you both because we're going to talk about all things mamahood, running a real estate business, being moms, how the two interconnect. And so maybe to kick it off, Vanessa, tell us about what family looks like, what kids, how old they are, how you were just mentioning earlier before we started recording your drop-off situation. I know that is a big thing in the mom world.
It is. It is. So I'm very excited to be on the podcast today. So as you mentioned, my name is Vanessa Gamp. Obviously, I work with you lovely ladies here at Willowmar. And then I am also this year the president of San Francisco's Association of Realtors. And then in our house, I have myself and my husband, Greg, my oldest daughter, Simone, who is 9. And then I have twins, boy-girl twins, Hayden and Luca, who are 7. So we live in San Francisco. We are very rare in that both myself and my husband are actually San Francisco natives. So we do have a decent chunk of family here. So both sets of the kids' grandparents live here in the city, about 15, 20 minutes away. So we do get lots of childcare help from Grandma Jane. We're also a one-car family. So sometimes we just get Grandma Jane's car. Sometimes that is the help that we need. We just need 2 vehicles. We get lots of chauffeur services from Grandpa Greg. And then my parents are also great for like the drop-in emergency, like, hey, I need to take someone to this appointment, this lesson. Can I drop the other 1 or 2 off at your house? So that's Grammy, my mom, and Papa. So we're really lucky to have that built-in care. And just like everyone else, we have a small collection of amazing babysitters that help too.
The logistical support on a one-car family is real. We're also a one-car household in LA, which is proving to be a lot more challenging as the kids get older and more activities are involved. And funny enough, today when I dropped off my son Mateo at preschool, the power was out. I think they're doing some construction in the neighborhood, so I was already kind of trying to plan out a plan B in the event that we would have to figure out how to pick him up. And we're like, okay, worst case scenario, my mom can step in and help out with that.
Grandmas are clutch. I'm so glad that I have access.
Yeah, definitely. Tiff, tell us what does your family look like these days?
Oh boy. So I'm Tiffany Chung and I have 4 kiddos. The oldest, Tristan, who is 14, Zoe is 6, Zane is 3, and Xander's 18 months. Yeah, it's to add on to what Vanessa says, thank goodness for grandmas because I can, it's always the last minute. Hey, can you help watch 2 out of the 4? Or can we do a quick drop off? Or could you help pick, so and so up? But super grateful for my mom. They call her Amma, and yeah, she's always there, and it's so nice to have the extra support. We do have 2 cars, however, so I don't know how you guys are doing it, managing with 1 car with all the different drop offs, but I'm kind of running around all the time. Like if I go to 2 different schools, and then I'm doing most of the pickup and drop off, and yeah, it's busy.
I feel like there was always this misconception of like, oh, a mom realtor, they might be ultra lax or they might be too busy to take on, so and so as a client. But and I think I even had that sort of limiting or shallow belief prior to having kids. I will say, since becoming a parent, it's like, oh no, if I give it to the realtor who is a mom, I know she will carry it through, take care of everyone, be on top of it, be able to juggle many things all at once, because so much about being a mom and a realtor is there are a lot of transferable skills in both departments, especially in being able to be a strong negotiator as well as a project manager and a counselor and all of those things. So I'd love to hear from you two. For you, Tiff, to start, any surprising skills for you that you've been like, oh, I can easily manage this because I am a mom, or vice versa, that you've applied as a mom into the real estate world or real estate into your personal life?
That's a good question, actually. One thing that comes to mind is like the different personalities, because all my kids are so, so different. And just learning, and as now some are more talkative, just learning to be able to navigate with different attitudes, different personality types, different tones has really helped. I mean, working in the real estate industry, you come across different agents and different clients, of course. So I think knowing to just help, being able to match the energy and knowing how to respond and be compassionate at the same time, being with, I'm sure you guys can agree, being moms, we're always trying to problem solve. So while working in real estate, it's like we're thinking ahead and all, juggling multiple things while obviously trying to make all parties happy. So
You just brought up like a visual reaction of, your kids like eating very sloppily or whatever, is about to spill a cup of milk, and you're like, you can see it before it happens. You're like reaching over to catch or
Slow-mo.
stop the spill. It's kind of like, yeah, scouting out the fires before they happen in an escrow or with like a challenging client, of like knowing they're going to come back with this or say this. You like already have your line that you're going to kind of share with them, or a way to approach it. It's always that foreshadowing of what's going to happen next, or being at the ready to put out a potential emergency. What about for you,
Yeah.
Vanessa?
I definitely think the ability to both come up with a plan, so think about the logistics from the beginning, and the ability to throw the entire plan out the window whenever necessary and completely pivot. I do those things anonymously, both in parenting and in realtor life. So you can't just like wing it all the time, right? So you usually have to come in with a plan and some structure, but you cannot be so rigid within your plan or your vision, because you are not the only person. You're not the only factor. There's a lot of outside factors you have to consider, a lot of personalities to deal with. So I feel like I use that skill set at home and with work a lot. And also like the the mindset of like no job is too big or too small for me. Like the amount of stuff that I have done as a parent that before kids, I'd be like, what is the heck? Like, I'm sure if I say this, and I apologize for listeners if this is not something you've ever thought of, but as a mom, if you see that kid getting ready to throw up, you are immediately putting your hands out. You're like, I can clean my hands. This is so much, please puke into my hands. I don't know any mom that hasn't done this. I'd much rather you throw up into my hands than on whatever area that we are around, unless we're outside, right? That is not something I would have ever considered a reasonable thing to do for children. And same thing, like with listings. I've absolutely done things like I had a client once that was on such a tight budget, they could not afford power washing. And I went out with a garden hose, and my husband and I hand washed the front of the house as far as we could reach with a ladder using a magic erasers and the garden hose. I was just like, whatever. Yeah, I can sell luxury real estate, but I will also hand wash the front of your house so that we can get this sold. Like, there's no job that's too crazy in order to get it done. So,
I love that. Yeah, I love that mentality of just that grit and that being adaptable to the situation. Because yeah, I think of literally cleaning our kids' butts and poo to one of my earliest open houses. There was literal human feces in front of the front door, and someone had to clean it. And yeah, there's no job that's too big or too small. I love that, Vanessa, because it's like
yeah.
we will get in there and get dirty with it and get it clean.
Yes. Yes.
Literally. Yeah. I love that. And it's very much, well, luckily my husband, I think he was my boyfriend at the time, was helping me set up, and I got him to help me go to this local CVS to pick that up. But it reminds me that so much of real estate is a family business too, and I love that we can incorporate family. Have you two seen kind of your families involved? I mean, it sounds like you and Greg were out on a ladder power washing a home. Have you found yet other interesting scenarios where you're like, well, that's really cool. Our family gets to be involved, or no, it's pushed our family boundaries.
I try really hard not to utilize my husband as a handyman, but sometimes I pull him in a tough situation. Absolutely every one of my long-term vendors have known my kids since birth because I would just cart them around. So like, oh, I'm going to go to this new listing and see how the painting is going. I'm bringing 2 babies in car seats and plunking them in the living room. And all the painters are going to, like all these men in their coveralls are going to go and gaga with them. So like my kids have been involved, I'm not making them work the open house, but sometimes I'm bringing them along to appointments or definitely during property prep, things like that. So yeah, I've never like tried to hide the fact that I had children. Everyone is aware that I have them, and they get brought in. They know what I do. It also helps because as they're getting older, so now they're all school age. Like if I have to miss something on the weekend, or if Greg is taking them solo and I'm not with it, they know why. They know what I'm doing. They've seen my job before. They understand. So that is also helpful.
I love that too. Yeah, same with the kiddos. I usually try to bring them on if it's during the weekend, like an open house. I'm like, hey, help with the signs or help with the A-frames, and they're usually good sports about it. And I think they're slowly, since they are younger, are understanding what I actually do for work. And it's been fun to bring them out. Of course, it's sometimes slower to get things done when they're involved, but nice to have them in on it and see us in action.
How do you describe what you do to your kids?
Okay, so it's like for, kindergarten, I like to share with my 3 and 6-year-old that, mommy helps friends and family find homes. And whether it's a new home or a bigger home, we help. Like, I work with, Auntie Connie, who runs the big business, and she's one of the owners of the business, and we all help each other and support each other and help find homes.
Oh, yeah. For
How about you,
listeners who
Vanessa?
don't know, Tiffany and I are sisters. I did share that in our intro.
Yeah, I also have like not even kindergarten. So I have like a preschool description that I've used for many years. And so mommy sells empty houses. So in San Francisco, where we sell real estate, it's not this way everywhere, but in San Francisco, if you sell a home, 95% of the time that home is vacant. And so when you have a really little child, a house is full of furniture and therefore someone lives there. So when you're walking into a staged house, they did not understand that nobody lived there. They're like, why is it full of furniture? Obviously someone lives there. So that is the phrase that I use for many years. Like mommy helps sell empty houses so that people can turn them into homes. Obviously now they're a lot older. It's one of those like, those family phrases that get stuck. My kids still call them empty houses, even though they're very clear on the concept of realtor. Sometimes I'll be looking at properties online and, literally like yesterday, Hayden, one of my 7-year-olds, she was like, oh, are you looking at empty houses? I was like, yeah, I am. But then I also, over the years, have had other jobs simultaneously in real estate. So I've been, assistant managers, or I've run offices, or like now being president of the association. I also make it very clear to them that I am doing that as well. I think it's really important for my kids to know, like, mom doesn't just like disappear. Like, she is out working hard to help you, to help our family, to help others. And so over the years, I've explained like, oh, I'm the boss, or mom runs the office, or now they really love telling people that I'm the president. They keep saying, of San Francisco, and people are asking, are you running for mayor? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm the president of my professional group. But I always try and describe what I do to my kids, because I also think it's important that they know that I'm seeking out, higher roles. I'm seeking out leadership, that I have gotten these positions. I really want them to have this outlook that, if they want to be the president of San Francisco, but quickly.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And your kids, it's so heartwarming, because I feel like calling you president and them kind of connecting the pieces and understanding that you are a leader and you're running the organization, or, yeah, it's so I love how both of you are talking to your kids about your profession and what you do in all capacities. And because it's something I just started doing, and I'm like figuring out the words to have it make sense. So it's inspiring to hear both of you. Curious, Vanessa, for you, how would you say motherhood has influenced your leadership style?
Mm. I think that I will say that I've always been pretty decently skilled at working with many different types of personalities. I can mirror somebody's personality if I can tell they'd be more comfortable if I did more talking, was more assertive, was more laid back. I've always been really good at that. I will say that like problem solving when the other person is stressed out has improved over time as I've become a parent. So the ability to see my kid being really stressed out, knowing that they're stressed, and therefore maybe not looking at the problem in the same way that someone from the outside is looking at the problem. Whereas before, I'd be like so in lock with my client that I would have the same level of stress that something's going to fall apart, or that this new thing popped up on an inspection, or, oh my gosh, someone just lost their job and we're in the middle of escrow. Sometimes I would have the exact same level of stress and I would be just as attached to the outcome. Being a parent, you can kind of detach yourself from the outcome so that you can look at the bigger picture. You have an advantage. You're a full blown adult. You can understand it's not the end of the world if you missed the first 5 minutes of this movie because you were running late or whatever the kid emergency is. And I think that it has also allowed me to do that with the adults in real estate that I work with as well. So, like, oh my God, someone's lost their job. That is actually a really big deal, but we're not going to stress on that particular, let's take a step back. We're going to do what we can to protect your assets. I'm going to smoothly get you out of this deal. Perhaps we can still move forward. I'm going to ask around about some creative lending option, like detaching from the outcome and just looking at all of the big picture so that you can decide how to move forward is something I've gotten better with after having kids.
What I find fascinating is, Vanessa, you became a mom after being in the real estate industry for quite some time. And Tiff, you became a realtor after being a mom. Would love to hear from both of you kind of some of the beliefs or kind of the things you've heard about being a working mom in real estate that have proven to be true, and some maybe more misconceptions where you're like, oh yeah, I've heard that, but that definitely does not apply to me, or that's definitely not the way it is in our industry. What did you think being a realtor was going to be like before you got into it as a mom?
I think just getting into real estate after becoming a mom, or even if I wasn't a mom, I think this misconception of like, oh, we get to show, beautiful homes and we just like open the door and meet, so many people, but it's so much harder than that. And being that I'm going to be in my third year of real estate, it is so, so hard that, there's so many issues that arise, like from using your phone as a key fob there as a Supra. It's just so difficult. Even meeting new friends and learning how to build relationships with other mom friends has been really difficult, but I'm slowly getting better at just making conversation. Yeah, so I always just thought it was like very glam. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this job and industry. And it is really hard. And sometimes I even find myself, I don't think I'm answering your question, but just taking it out on my kids or even my partner when I get in these like really stressful situations. But it is really hard. And that's what I didn't really think or really understand. Although like taking my test was a lot of fun and like studying and saying I was going to get my salesperson license was exciting. But after that was when it really became very challenging.
When the real work began.
Exactly.
Totally. I hear you. What about you, Vanessa?
So for me, I went into real estate in 2008 and I had my daughter, my first child, at the end of 2014. So I had several years working in real estate. and I knew exactly what the job entailed. I remember being like, how am I going to fit, like doing it anyway, but like, how am I going to fit a baby into this schedule? I'm not entirely clear on how this is going to work, but knowing that there were tons of moms, I could see tons of moms that were still working and doing real estate. I do remember very initially, so before Simone, my eldest, was born, I remember being really nervous. Like, what if I just fall in love with parenting so much that I don't want to go back to work? This is a real thing that happens. And obviously, it has nothing to do with my kid or my desire to be a mom. But after I was home with her for 2 months, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not a problem. I cannot wait to get back into the office. I cannot wait to talk to adults. I cannot wait to do some real estate. And so what I did on purpose for several years, which I ended up loving, I feel like I had the best case scenario. I, as both a stay-at-home mom and a working mom, is I hired a nanny part-time and I took a part-time assistant sales manager position at my company. And so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I was 100% in the office and I was 100% covered in childcare. And what I would do is I would cram a week's worth of activities into those 3 days. And that's what made it work for me. But now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I got to be home with my kids. And I did this later when I had my twins as well. So I still got to go to like play groups and mommy groups. I had play dates in the middle of the week. We could go do, arts and crafts on a Tuesday at 10 in the morning. Like got to have that experience. And then I also got to have the working mom experience. And personally, I don't think I could have done it any other way. I got to have it all, which is pretty rare. And I think the big joke that it, well, it's not a joke. The line that gets told to so many people, especially mothers, is like, go into real estate. The schedule is so flexible. So that is both truth and a huge lie all at the same time. So it is flexible in that, for example, I was able to do 3 days on, 2 days off, and then work when I needed to on the weekend. But it wasn't like I was doing any less work. I was just working crazy hours on those days. Or, as soon as I put the baby to bed, I'd start working again at 8 o'clock at night. So it's not quite as flexible as they make it appear on television. You still got to get it all done.
Yeah, the flexibility word is it's a complex word in our industry as a working realtor, definitely.
Yeah.
So much.
The irony being that so flexible that right now in the middle of this work podcast, I'm going to switch to my phone to continue this podcast so I can go pick up a kid.
Exactly. I love it. Working mom. On that note, with boundaries, would love to hear, Tiff, like, have you learned, especially because, yeah, in real estate and then working as a realtor, a lot of times we may not have the flexibility we're looking for, or we're just adapting and kind of responding to our clients' needs, or sometimes it's going, into the dinner hour or into the weekend. Have there been times where the boundaries have been pushed for you, and also have you learned to create some new boundaries as a result?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I feel like every day boundaries are being pushed, especially because being a realtor, it's not like your standard 9 to 5. We're working, you know, night and day, ratifying late into the evening or sometimes early in the morning. But yeah, I think something we're working on right now is just, when it's dinner or at least calendaring and trying to figure out, what are my must do's or my to do list and what items do I need to make sure I touch on or actually complete so that when it comes to dinner and everyone's picked up for, after school and all of that, that we are using that hour of, 1.5 hours of eating a meal together and sitting down and really talking about our days. Because in the mornings, it's always go, go, go. I don't know about you ladies, but I am always rushing every morning and yelling. So working on slowing it down once we do the pickup and get dinner or prepare dinner and having everyone share a few sentences about their day or what made them happy or sad. Starting to incorporate that these last few months.
That's cute. I like it. That's reminds me of we're kind of trying to do the same. I notice for dinners, I'm just so tired that I mean, I do, yeah, talking about boundaries, I do have tried to have a no phone at the dinner table policy. And I always have my phone on silent for the most part when I'm with family or especially for meal times. If I am expecting a call, and usually it's only if we're in the middle of a negotiation or something that's super pressing and time sensitive, I will turn on the volume for my phone. And I was listening to another podcast where they were talking about family conversation starters as like, what's your sweet and sour? So we just instituted that in our family dinners. Like, what was your sweet and sour of the day? Like something that went well and something not so well. And the
That's
next
so
part that
cute.
this person mentioned was like a sprinkle of gratitude. Yeah, what are you grateful for? And that's something trying to get to. I feel like our kids are still learning that concept at 3 and 6. And I have to remind myself, like, we really, as the parents, have to model that. And I'm trying to get better at leading that.
That's a good reminder. I really like that sweet and sour. I might have to try that tonight. Even the
I know it
gratitude,
makes
yeah,
me
it's
easy to
hard to,
remember.
yeah. And how do you teach your little ones, to be grateful? What are
Mm.
some things you say?
Oh, that's so hard. I know what I should not say that I sometimes do say. Yeah, even like at the breakfast table, it was something that mom would do to us that I know is not the best way to go about it where you're trying to get your kid to eat their breakfast or eat whatever they have. I remember mom would tell us there are starving kids who don't have any food, and I know that's probably not the most productive way, but I kind of found myself telling Mia, "Oh yeah, there are other kids who would love a warm home cooked meal." That was a very passive aggressive way. Um, Talking about how to
Totally.
get kids to be grateful. Vanessa, how any
Oh,
parenting tips there on how to show gratitude in your family?
I do not necessarily have many specific tips other than I'm very conscious on exposing my kids to all different socioeconomic worlds.
Mm.
And so we live in San Francisco. There is a very visible homeless population here. It is very important to me that I don't ignore it. I don't pretend that they don't exist. My kids are going to encounter people that are unhoused or experiencing mental crisis. And so we talk about this like, we're really lucky. We get to live in a house. Not everybody has enough money to live in a house. We talk a lot about, like people getting picky about what they eat. And I'm like, you're really lucky. You have the option to not like something and then not eat it, but not everybody has that option. So, you can tell me politely at home if you don't like something, but, if we're out somewhere, if somebody else has made something, like these words really matter. So you're not going to say it's disgusting if somebody else has gone through time and effort to create it for you. So I think just trying to make them really aware, it's impossible, right? Kids are the center of their own universe, but I'm trying really hard to make sure that they know that in reality, they are not the center of the universe. They are important, but other people are important too. So yeah.
Oh,
That's so beautifully put. I love this. If only listeners could see, Vanessa is literally driving through the city on her way to pick up as she's on this podcast. Like, this is the true definition of being a realtor mom. Like, you were just making all things happen. On that note, what would you say is the hardest thing about being in real estate as a working parent or as a mom?
I would say that real estate is this really unique industry in which the general public has these very specific views of realtors, and most of them are pretty negative. I forget the name of this survey, but there's this survey done every year to the general public in America, and they ask people how much you value or trust people based on their occupation. And, some of them like consistently are coming up high, like doctors, nurses, teachers. Realtors are so low. We are usually ranked in trustworthiness and value below like used car salespeople. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with used car salespeople, but we all have like the stereotypical picture of who that is. And so as somebody who cares so deeply for my clients, I will hand wash your house on the outside. Like someone who truly like gives their all, cares so deeply, and truly in it to better and improve people's lives. I care so much about giving access to disadvantaged groups. We live in an insanely expensive city. I try so hard to keep natives here when many of them cannot afford to. If they so choose to live here, I'm gonna find whatever we can do to keep you in the city that you love. And for people to just be so disrespectful of my time, or to like constantly say that they know how to do it better, or it's kind of shocking sometimes what people will tell you to your face because they think you're this horrible person. So yeah, that part can be rough.
I hear you. That's
Mhm.
something I struggle probably with the most, especially with this internal dialogue. I know the value I put out there to my clients and to folks that I am working with. That internal dialogue of what I know others are perceiving me because of my profession, or what, or that, it's a constant battle. And I find it holds me back from even sometimes owning or like telling folks I work in the real estate industry. Tiff, what about you? What do you find hard?
I just want to challenge you. You should not. You should
I
tell
know,
them that
yeah.
you're a realtor. Because when they get in their head a different, especially if someone like gets to know you first and then you tell them a realtor, it's going to help change the image. Because, Connie, you're so sweet.
Very true.
No one's going to take this evil realtor and assume that you're them. So it's helping.
You got it. So I got to put it out there even more. Yes. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder, Vanessa. Let's see, there's so many challenging parts to being a working mom and realtor. One thing that comes to mind is just constantly being needed by so many different parts, whether it's the kids that need something, the clients that need something, a lender. Just having or being pulled in so many different directions can be stressful. And then you start to kind of neglect yourself. So, whether that's setting aside 30 minutes for yourself to do something for yourself can be tough, because then there's, you could have physical, emotional, mental breakdowns, which happens often for me. So kind of working through that. Wasn't big on calendaring, but something I do for myself is like, no, I'm gonna, set this 30 minutes aside or 40 minutes aside for some movement or walking or doing my nails. So setting this time aside for yourself is really important. And I think we as moms, we're always taking care of everyone. We forget about taking care of ourselves. So
Oh,
that can be
totally. Being
easily.
in the real estate profession, we're service providers, and as moms and parents, the service continues throughout the day. It's a never-ending cycle of servicing others that it's so easy to forget to service ourselves and really take that time. Uh, to wrap it up, what would you say is the thing you love the most and you hope others take away from it? Maybe we have a mom listening and they're thinking about getting into real estate, or maybe there's another working mom, another realtor mom out there who's listening and is like, oh, I'm not alone in this. What would you say is kind of your big takeaway, or your big thing that keeps you in, that you love so much?
I think that if you're getting into this industry, or at least residential real estate, if you do not just love people, then this is going to be a difficult job for you. Like, you have to really love people. Similar to kids. Like, you love your kids. Hopefully you like other people's kids. Not every kid is going to be perfect. Not every kid's going to be your favorite. Even your own kid has days where, like, God, acting like a jerk today. Like, everyone, it's true. Love my kids, everyone. I get to act like jerks. We're all human. But you really, really love people. Like, what we do is so awesome. We get to help sometimes like lifetime dreams come true, or help someone through a family crisis. If you're a person that really likes to caretake, you're lifting this big, daunting financial decision. Maybe it's scary. Maybe they're not business oriented. You're taking that off their plate. you're helping them through something. It really fills my bucket. Like, it's a very rewarding job. I really love. I'm not like doing it for charity. Of course, I also am doing it for money, but I'm not this crazy realtor who's only in it for the money, right? I'm doing it because I really love people and I really love helping.
I hear you. Yeah, there's that deep human connection that we get in working with people in all facets. It's the client, we are like the orchestrator of all the different parties, escrow, lender, inspector, painter, all our different contacts that we get to deal with so many personalities, some great, some, more challenging, but ultimately you have to really enjoy that aspect to make it worthwhile. And it is so, it fills, that fills my bucket. So I hear you on. What about you, Tiff?
Would say if you're a mom and figuring out career transition, I encourage you to take the chance and do it and try it. I guess you won't know until you try. So definitely get out there. And yeah, we talked about flexibility earlier, but yeah, you'll have to get what you put in. So try it.
Totally. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. You don't know it. That's so true. You don't know until you're in it.
Yeah. And I think if you're a mom, you're used to being the boss, right? You're in charge of at least one kid, maybe your kid in your house, maybe your kid and your partner. Who knows? But you're used to being in charge and running things, right? It's an incredibly transferable skill. So when you're in real estate, you're more or less working for yourself. So you get to set it up in ways that are going to work for you. Like, no realtor's life or day or career looks the same. So it's pretty rare to have that in the job industry. And it's absolutely something that moms are already teed up and successful at.
Totally. There's so much dynamism, caretaking, putting out fires, foreshadowing, planning ahead, so many transferable skills you mentioned. Well, I love ending on that note. Give it a try. If your heart is in it, if people are who you love and want to continue working with the good and and the ugly, sometimes it can be a really great, satisfying career. Well, thank you so much, Tiff and Vanessa, for being our guests on today's episode and sharing your insights and stories about mamahood and realtor life. It's so fun to connect. And, there's this almost unspoken connection where you just know, you can see the facial expression or just the tone, and you're like, yep, not alone in this. And so much of, I think, in kind of in life as a mom or in the realtor space, because you are your individual, you are sometimes going at it alone, or as a realtor, you are a sole entrepreneur in many ways. It's so helpful to have the community, most importantly. And so to our parent listeners and to folks out there, most important to build that community, and would love to hear how you're experiencing and juggling family and career and everything in between. And so if folks want to follow Vanessa, where can they find you at Vanessa on Instagram?
Yes, I am showing my age. I've had the same handle since AOL. So I am Curly Girly, KURLI 3E, GIRLIE. And I am also on Facebook under Vanessa Gamp. If you Google my name, all of those pop up. I'm easy to find.
Oh, and also if you want to see all of Vanessa, as president of SFAR, she is very much in the media, especially with a lot of the hot topics today. And so very out there and really great articles and great leadership. Thank you, Vanessa. And Tiffany, if folks want to find you, where can they find you on Instagram?
You guys can find me at Sunkissed Tiff on Insta.
Awesome. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much to you both. And we'll link to both of your accounts. And so for listeners, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Would love to hear, if you have any mom insights, tips, struggles, things you want to share, we'd love to hear. We are all ears, and we read every comment and every review and all of that, and appreciate the love. So until next time, bye.